Hello, hi English readers, and welcome to this new live read along of the graded reader adaptation of Jane Eyre here by Charlotte Brontë. I'm Lydie Bureau and I'm an English teacher in France. I'm also the founder of Lydie's Book Club, in which I host live readings of adaptations of classics or contemporary novels of English literature. And I tend to prioritize books that are written by women. And once a week, we meet with the members of the book club. We meet on Zoom to discuss the chapters read over the week during the live readings. And we also talk about books in general and learning English and any topics that are that comes up in the conversation. And for this new live read along this month, I'm hosting 12 live readings of Jane Eyre. It corresponds to the 12 chapters of the book. And in addition to that, I'm hosting 3 live workshops on 3 Saturdays. We've done already 1 live workshop last Saturday, and the next one will be the 1st of June. And in this workshop, we will discuss chapter 6 to chapter 9, the chapters that we are reading this week. I'm not hosting the live workshop this Saturday because I will be attending the Innovate ELT conference organized by Oxford TEFL. It's a language school in Barcelona, and they organize in their office, in their institute, a conference about languages, and it's a way to see the newest all the new the innovation in terms of language teaching and learning. So it's a great opportunity for English teachers or language teachers to share their teaching strategies or their tools and find new ways to approach teaching. And you have also other professionals in the language teaching and English language teaching that will also be present to talk about the latest app or the latest platform that is available to the learners or the teachers to use. And those new technology tools can be very useful as a teacher and also as learners. So if you live in Barcelona, then please join us and take part of this amazing conference. I will be hosting a talk. This is going to be my first talk. I'm very excited about this opportunity that has been given to me. And in my talk, I will be talking, of course, about how book clubs and literary conversation can enhance English fluency. So I will have a 30 minutes talk about my work here as an English teacher online and a host of and a teacher and host of live readings, and also the podcast that I also as a content creator, I would say. So yeah, it's very exciting, and I can't wait to meet these all these teachers from they're coming from different parts of Europe, I guess, and maybe from the world. So I don't know, it's going to be a surprise. a first experience for me, and I'm sure there's going to be so much to learn and a great experience. So yeah, if you want to know more about this conference, I am adding the link in the description of this video or in the description of the podcast. So you just click on the link and you will find the website of the conference and all the speakers, including myself. I was so proud to see my face on the website. Those little joys. You have to, yeah, be happy with these little things. And you will find also all the prices for the tickets and everything. So yeah, if you don't have anything planned for this weekend, maybe why not going to Barcelona for this conference? So now, if you want to have access to the live workshops that I'm hosting on the 3 Saturdays, all the dates are also in the description of this video or the podcast. You have to become a member of the book club. So make sure that you subscribe. You've got all the links in the description of this video. And today we're going to read chapter 7 together of the book. And if you'd like to know more about Charlotte Bronte's life and Jane Eyre, I invite you to listen to the podcast episode 20, an introduction to Charlotte Brontë and Jane Eyre. So if it's the first time that you're reading or you're just discovering this novel, this classic, then I advise you to listen to the podcast so that you will get a context and an overview of the book, but also get to know more about the author, Charlotte Brontë, her life and her work. So that being said, I'm going to do a quick recap now on the chapter 6, yeah, the one that we read yesterday. And I made my research. I did my research. So I will give you more details. So yesterday we read chapter 6, in which Jane is welcoming. Welcoming. It's not quite exact, but she sees the arrival of new guests. So remember the night of the fire, Jane Eyre and Mr. Rochester got quite close at that moment. She saved his life because he was asleep while his bed was burning. And Mr. Rochester felt so emotional and so grateful towards Jane that you could feel the tension and the feelings that started to grow in Mr. Rochester's attitude and towards you can feel, and also by the way he addressed her. And when she's, especially at the moment where she tells him, now I'm going back to my room, to my bedroom. And then he's not ready to let her go, and he's just leaving like that, just and that's it. You just saved my life, and you would just go and not say anything more. So he's deeply affected. You can see that Mr. Rochester is affected by what just happened. And then he vanished. He just left the next day. Jane was expecting to see him, and she started to feel as well, to have some feelings toward Mr. Rochester after that night. And yeah, a lot of emotion came up, and he's not there. So for weeks she doesn't see him. For about a month she doesn't see him. So it feels like he ran away from Jane, feeling a little bit disturbed by maybe the feelings he um, that he felt, and maybe, yeah, didn't know how to handle the situation and their relationship. So he went to Mr. Ashton's place, and there were other people, and including Mrs. Blanche, Miss Blanche Ingram, and we then learned that she may be a good match for Mr. Rochester. So Mr. Rochester announces that inform the household that he's coming back, but he's not coming back alone. He comes back with Miss Ingram. Who else? Other ladies. He arrives with a lot of people. Who else comes in? Yes, Lord Ingram, his beautiful daughter Blanche, Sir George Lynn, and others. Lady Lynn, Mrs. Dent, and her daughters. There are also two other daughters. There's Blanche and Lady Ingram and her daughters, Blanche and Mary. Yeah. So the house is now full of people, and everywhere Jane goes, there is either the servants running around or the Mr. Rochester's friend walking in the corridors of Thornfield Hall. So the house is quite lively, yeah. And she doesn't, so she is requested to come down every evening in the drawing room. So Jane is requested to come down every evening in the drawing room with Adele, to sit and to join the other members of all the other friends of Mr. Rochester. So as you can see, there is a lovely illustration here where you've got Jane sitting at the back next to the window, and the ladies. So you have probably Lady Ingram here, looks very pretty, but with a look that very stern and quite mean look. And you've got Adele, the little Adele here at the bottom on the floor playing, and Mr. Rochester on the side. And you can see that, and you learn as well that Jane doesn't really like Mrs. Ingram because she is not really nice with the servants. She talks them, she doesn't talk nicely to them. And she also kind of push Adele away, and she neglects her. She doesn't pay attention to her, and she's not nice with her. And actually, at some point, she asks Mr. Rochester, "Oh, but why this little girl is not at school? Why is she here? You know, like, why is she here bothering us in our in this room?" And can't remember what is why didn't you send her to school? And then he replies, "Oh, but I have a governess." So Jane, her teacher, because governess means that she is our teacher, and she looks after her. She plays with her, but she also teaches her lessons. And he says, "Oh yeah, but I have a governess, so I'm not gonna send her to school." So that's his response. And to that, Miss Lady Ingram, so Blanche Ingram's mother, then take this opportunity to criticize governesses and says, "Oh, I had terrible, don't talk to me about governesses. I had terrible time with governesses, and I'm so happy now that I don't have to deal with them anymore now that my children are old enough." And this is an attack directed to Jane, indirectly, but she's yeah. So you can see that she, in a way, puts governesses at to show really the difference in rank and in society, the role of governesses and criticizing their work as well. So to that, Jane doesn't say anything. She keeps quiet and, of course, let them talk. She doesn't she's not in the position to form to expose her opinion. I mean, so yeah, so she keeps quiet. So then Jane, she keeps quiet, but she feels kind of hurt in a way, because she takes this criticism to her for herself. So she leaves the room, and Mr. Rochester meets her outside, and he's quite is being kind, and he's wondering, "Oh, what's going on? Why are you leaving?" And she replies that she's tired. Um, so so that was about this little event, and then Jane receives a letter. So I checked in the original text. So this is an adaptation of this big original text, and actually they kind of condensed all the information. Of course, there are 500 pages, and you kind of have to condense it into this little book. So you have to find ways to give the essential information of the plot to make sense. So in the adaptation, you have Jane receiving. So Jane receives a letter from Bessie. So Bessie used to be a servant at Mrs. Reed's house, so Jane's aunt. So Jane, when her parents died, Jane was sent to Gateshead Hall, which is her aunt's house, her uncle and aunt's house, and her uncle died, and it's her aunt who looked after her. But the aunt didn't really like this idea and mistreated Jane. And there in this house, there was Bessie, a very nice servant, the only one that was nice to her in the house. So, so she receives a letter from her. And in this letter, she learns that John Reed, or her cousin, has died. And because he lost his money and he killed himself. So she learns that. And she learns also that her aunt has died. And that now they need her to come back for the funeral. And then also she learns that her uncle, John Eyre, who lives in Madeira, has died. Also, everyone has died at this moment, has died. She doesn't know him. She learns about his existence in this letter, and she learns that he is, because he doesn't have any heir, he is giving her, so he's giving Jane all his money. So she becomes rich. But in fact, in the story, in the original text, she doesn't receive any letter from Bessie, but a servant from Gateshead Hall is sent to fetch, to bring Jane back to Gateshead for, not for the funeral, but because her aunt is sick. So she has not died yet. And because her aunt is requesting Jane. So there is, yeah, a slight difference. So she immediately, she packs her bags and she leaves with that servant back to Gateshead Hall. And there she is going to see her aunt for the last time. She is going to stay with her in her last days because her two cousins, Georgiana and Eliza, are just wrapped up in their own lives, and they don't really care about, they just wait the death of their mother to get the inheritance. So it's really Jane who is going to look after her aunt. And while she is in her bed, at her bedside, her aunt is showing her a letter that she received 3 years ago from her uncle, John Eyre. And this letter was in a drawer, and she asks Jane to open the drawer, and there she finds the letter and learns that her uncle she's got an uncle in Madeira, and that he would like to make her, when he dies, so he hasn't died yet, but when he will die, he would like her to inherit his estate in Madeira and his money. So and become an heiress. So that is the slight difference between the original text and the order of events that kind of differ from the adaptation. They simplified all these events in just one letter, because I guess you can get confused, and also it kind of condense also the information and all the and all the different events happening. So that's how this chapter ends. So she received this letter and learns about her aunt, and she packs up and she's on her way to Gateshead. Okay, so basically this is how this chapter ends, and Mr. Rochester is not quite happy about the fact that she's leaving, that she has to go, but he asks her to promise to come back. So you can see that is very much attached to her, and yeah, he doesn't want to let her go like that. Okay, so let's read chapter 7 now. Okay. A new life. I stayed in Gateshead for a month. I planned to come back immediately after the funeral, but my 2 cousins wanted me to stay with them for a while. They were young ladies now. They stood when I entered the room and called me Miss Eyre, but they did not seem very interested in me. I did not enjoy being with them very much, but I was happy to see Bessie, who gave me my uncle's letter. 2 weeks after arriving at Gateshead, I got a letter from Mrs. Fairfax. The guests have left, she wrote, and Mr. Rochester is away in London, but he's coming back next week. I expect him to marry Miss Ingram when he comes back. What? So here, quite a bad news for Jane, who felt like maybe something could happen between the two of them, but then I guess when learning this information, then she probably she thinks that she kind of put this idea in the back of her head and just forget about this idea. The journey back to Thornfield took a long time. I travelled 50 miles in one day and 50 miles the next. I did not know what waited for me there. If he marries Blanche Ingram, I would not stay, I thought, sadly, when the carriage arrived in Millcote. Adele will have I thought sadly when the carriage arrived in Millcote. Adele will have to go to school, and I must find a new job. I decided to walk the last part of the journey. It was a warm June evening, and the farmers were working in the fields. I was getting near to Thornfield when I suddenly saw a man sitting on the still. Remember, the still is this little kind of wooden door that is left, it's like a little gate door, but it's not a gate, it's in wood. You can see the fences here, and it's a little door that maybe let the sheep go in and out of the fields. And yeah, so here is Mr. Rochester. Okay, let's see. When he saw me, he stood up. There you are, he said. Is this Jane Eyre? And she's walking quietly from Millcote to her home. Not taking a carriage? Not taking a carriage? But of course she is. She has been away for a whole month, and I'm sure she has completely forgotten me. So it's interesting to see that he's using the third person to talk about Jane. which feels kind of a way to engage and to tease her as well. Or yeah, a kind of a way to humor her as well. His words made me happy, and for a moment I forgot about Blanche Ingram, and he used the word home. Oh, I really wanted Thornfield to be my home. You can feel here about, you can understand here about her feelings about for towards Thornfield and her life there. Now go on, Jane, he said. Take those tired feet and rest them at your friend's house. Thank you, Mr. Rochester, I replied. I'm strangely happy to get back to you again. Where you are is my home, my only home. I walked on quite quickly to find an excited Adele waiting for me by the door. A quiet 2 weeks followed. No one talked about Blanche Ingram, and Mr. Rochester did not go to visit her. He often called for me to join him, and he was very kind to me. I was starting to love him more and more. So our feelings are really growing here. The Jane of the evening, I don't know why I said the Jane. The evening of 21st June, the longest day of summer, was beautiful and warm. Birds flew across a blue sky, and the fields were bright and green. Adele was tired from playing outside and went to bed early. I watched her go to sleep and then went out into the garden. I walked until I came to a huge tree that had a bench under it. Suddenly, I saw Mr. Rochester coming towards me. He was happy to see me, and we sat together on the bench. Jane, he said, Thornfield is nice in the summer, isn't it? Yes, sir. I'm sad that you have to leave it, he said. His words hit me hard, but I tried not to show it. Then you're getting married, sir, I said. Yes, he replied, in about a month. But I have found another job for you in Ireland. You like Ireland. The people are very friendly. But he's very many miles away, sir, I replied quietly. Miles away from what, Jane? He asked gently. From England and Thornfield and what? Why are you crying, Jane? And what? And from you, sir? I said quickly, and suddenly I began to cry. Why are you crying, Jane? He said. Because I do not want to leave Thornfield, sir. I love it because I have lived a good life here. People have been kind to me. And I have known you, Mr. Rochester. And I am frightened because now I must leave you forever. Why must you leave me forever, Jane? Because of your new wife. My new wife? He shouted immediately. I have no new wife. But you will, sir. So I must go. I stood up. I will, he said angrily. And then suddenly he put his arms around me and his mouth on my mouth. Okay. So he kisses her, basically. Stop it, sir, I cried, and I pulled away from him. So she's stepping back. Oh. You're a married man, or nearly a married man. I am a free person with her own mind, and I will decide my future. And you will decide your future, he said, quietly taking my hands in his. Jane, I give you my hand and my heart, and half of everything that I have that is mine. Jane, will you marry me? I do not love Miss Ingram, and she does not love me. I only brought her here to make you jealous. Oh, look how twisted is that. Twisted mind. I wanted to know that you love me as much as I love you. And it worked. I love you. I love you like I love myself. You quiet, clever, modest girl, please take me for your husband. Look at me, Mr. Rochester, I said. I want to see your face. He looked down into my eyes. His face was pale, and he looked worried. Are you being serious? I asked. Do you really love me? I do. I promise it. Then, sir, I will marry you. I cried. You must call me Edward. Come to me, dear Jane. Come to me now, he said. Edward, I replied softly. And then he put his arms around me and kissed me again and again. The next day, Mr. Rochester told Mrs. Fairfax that he and I were getting married in 4 weeks' time at the small church in Hay. After that, he wanted to take me to London, and then France and Italy. Mrs. Fairfax did not seem happy. But you have no money, she said to me later, and he is 20 years older than you. Is he really marrying you for love? Rich men do not normally marry their governesses. This thought made me feel uncomfortable. I began to think about the letter from my uncle Jane Eyre. I would like to have my own money, I thought. Then, in the future, people will not say bad things about me. That evening, I wrote to my uncle in Madeira and told him about the marriage. And that's the end of chapter 7. So, well, quite a lot of feelings happening. And, well, finally, Mr. Rochester reveals his feelings towards Jane. Well, she starts first saying that she will miss him and she doesn't want to leave Thornfield, but then, and that was just what needed Mr. Rochester to declare his love for her and propose, and he proposed. So let's see if this marriage happens really. So yeah, please let me know in the comments, what do you think about the declaration of love that Mr. Rochester do, and so what do you feel about the way he's revealing his feelings towards her, and do you feel that it's romantic or not? Tell me what do you feel about that, or do you feel like it's something, do you feel that it's over the top, or do you feel that it's something that that could happen? Because sometimes, romance and things like that, things can be a little bit over the top, but how do you feel about the way they declare their love to each other? I would be interested to know if you feel that it is romantic what they say, or if it's too much, or is it actually beautiful, and the way when he says, actually, I love you like I love myself. So tell me what you feel about the way they declare their love to each other. So thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed this live reading. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in below the video, or leave a review of the podcast. I would love to know your thoughts on this. And just to remind you that I will be hosting on the 1st of June the second live workshop of Jane Eyre. And if you want to take part of this workshop, make sure you subscribe to the book club, and then you will have access. And then the workshop will be free. But if it's not possible for you to attend the live workshop, or if it's not possible for you to become a member, then these live workshop will be then available as a one-off purchase. You will be able to purchase the live workshops as a replay, let's say. So they will be accessible after the recording of the third live workshop, which will be in June the 10th. The workshop will be available to purchase on the 10th of June. I think that's the date. But if you want to know about to have all the information, make sure you subscribe to the newsletter, and then once the live workshop will be available to purchase, then you'll get an email, and then you just click on the link and get your workshop. So yeah, if you have any more questions, please don't hesitate to message me or email me. And I can't wait to see you tomorrow for the live reading of chapter 8, and maybe see you next time in the book club as well. Have a beautiful evening. Bye-bye. Bye.